right. Welcome to This Week in Birding. It's Bob Dolgan here with this week's guest, Josh Engel of Red Hill Birding. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great. So it's day, I don't even know what day of quarantine it is at this point. It feels like about March 40th or something like that, but I think it's the week ending April 10th. But we're here to talk birding and birds in the time of social distancing. I want to start out today, talking about what's on everybody's mind, at least here in Chicago, and that's the closure of the lakefront areas and the fact that we can't go birding in some of these prime spots, some of the, like standout places to go birding in the Midwest. This is, at first, I got to admit, I was feeling a little bit like, I was disappointed, but then I was kind of into the novelty of this. Like, how are we going to go to find other places to identify birds and rack up our lists for this year? And eventually, lately, I've been feeling a bit more just kind of just sad about it, because it's just been I live about 10 minutes from the lakefront, and not being able to get up and just kind of go over there almost every day is such a bummer on so many levels. But I have been, I've been birding this little patch near me, which runs from about Lawrence down to Montrose, and I'll try to put a little graphic up with that. And it's west of Lakeshore Drive and generally east of Marine Drive. It's like a sliver of green space. And the way I've been kind of thinking of it is at times I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit of habitat there, and I try to convince myself of that. But then as I'm over there, I'm like, no, actually, there's no habitat. There's like no natural habitat like in that area at all. It's just like shade trees and a big grassy space. But occasionally some birds turn up there, and I've got about 19 birds on my life list of this at this very boring patch. But it'll be interesting to see what turns up. Josh, do you have any what have been places you've been going, and do you have any kind of little off the beaten places that you've been going to?
Well, a place that I have been to a handful of times over the years, I've started going to more often, and I've probably gone there more in the last 2 weeks than in the previous 2 years combined, or previous 8 years that I've lived here combined. That's Graceland Cemetery. So it's not quite off the beaten path per se. It's a pretty famous cemetery. There's a lot of renowned Chicagoans who are buried there.
Yeah.
But it's a great place to, well, one, to social distance, because it's a big area. It has has roads that run through it. You can get off the roads easily enough and stay away from other people. It has some decent habitat. It's not, it's not Montrose. It's not Jarvis Bird Sanctuary, but there's some decent habitat there. So you can see a few migrants, with the kinglets and creepers and hermit thrushes and sparrows that are coming through now. You can find that sort of stuff there. So it's a nice place at least to go and take a walk and see a few birds. Another place actually is my immediate neighborhood. I live very close to Montrose. I can bike there in less than 5 minutes. So my neighborhood has a lot of big trees, and I've been enjoying just taking short walks around the neighborhood, seeing what's around.
Cool. Good. I think it's just getting creative, like in the times we're in, and making the best of it. And we'll talk a little bit about the Backyard Big Day coming up too, because I think that's a great opportunity to tap into it. One other highlight from this week was the sighting of a harlequin duck over near Jarvis Avenue, where Jarvis intersects with the lake. And talk about in talking about the lakefront closure, this is sort of a loophole, right? Like, people could kind of see into the lake from Jarvis, which is this residential street. Like, whether this is okay or not to be over there, I'm not totally sure. But interestingly, Isu O'Brien, who we had on last week and is working on a Cook County Big Year, he was able to get over there. He had I know he went over there on Saturday, April 4th, and couldn't find the harlequin. But then he went the next day, and with the help of Scott Judd and I think others, eventually relocated the bird. And then a lot of area birders had a great chance to see this bird. And harlequin ducks, by the way, like, maybe the prettiest duck like in North America. Like I don't know if you agree with that, Josh, but I would say
Yeah,
like
well, I
almost
mean, this one is an
objectively.
adult. This one is an adult
Yeah.
male, and we very infrequently get. I mean, it's a rare bird in general, but to see an adult male on the lakefront here is super unusual. So that's a real treat. And yeah, it's definitely one of the best looking ducks in North America.
Yeah, I was looking back at my old Roger Tory Peterson, and back in the day, he described it as bizarre in looks, and I think that was like a different definition of the word bizarre than what we're used to. So then I looked, and that was my older Peterson, and then I looked at my next Peterson, and they changed it to spectacularly patterned. So it's a spectacularly patterned duck, and but yeah, really, really amazing. And did you get a chance to see it?
No, I mean, to be honest, I'm a little uneasy with going up there with the park closures and
Yeah,
how that's all shaking out. So I have not gone up to see it.
yeah,
Probably in a normal year, I would have been up there to see it, but I haven't gone up this year.
yeah. No, I mean, and it's likewise, I didn't go, and I think it's an incredible, but it's an incredible bird, and I already have it on
Mhm.
my Illinois life list, my Cook County list, whatever. So but yeah, I'd love to see a male, and I think I don't know if you have more insight in this. I think this population, are they going from? Is this the population that goes? Do you think this bird's an Atlantic bird, or are these the birds that are more on the Pacific side?
I'm not sure that it's been looked at in great
Or is there any
detail,
way?
with genetics or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I guess the assumption would be that they're Atlantic birds.
Okay.
And it's
Cool.
similar with Barrow's golden eyes, another rare duck that we get here only once in a while that has both Pacific and Atlantic populations, probably Atlantic ones that we get here.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and it's a bird of rushing streams, like up in places like Labrador and northern Quebec. And so occasionally we're fortunate enough to have one come through the
Hmm.
Great Lakes. Um, so I wanted the other thing that we have now, as sort of the weeks go by, are early spring warblers, and occasionally we're starting to see more of these sightings of yellow-rumped warblers in particular. And I've always thought of there being kind of this troika of early spring warblers that one can start to look at, and those are yellow-rumped warbler, pine warbler, and palm warbler. I know growing up east of Cleveland, these are the first few warblers we'd see come through. And I don't know if that's like the consensus, but that's what I was sort of
Yeah,
led to believe as a youngster.
yeah, and we started seeing
But
reports of some of the, yellow rumped, of course, is the real common one showing up now, but those other ones you mentioned, black-throated green is another one that's
yeah,
a
yeah,
fairly
yeah.
early migrant that'll be showing up any day now. Um, but yeah, it gives you an early taste of what's to come.
And did you think, like, now that it looks like we're settling in for some colder weather, will that have an impact on the speed with which those birds arrive? Or
Yeah, for sure. Every time there's a warm up, south winds bringing warmer weather, we'll get another influx. For a little while yet, it's still going to be a lot of yellow rumps, trickle of palms and black-hooded greens, occasional pine warblers and
yeah,
stuff. Another early one is Louisiana water thrush. We're at the northern edge of Louisiana water thrush's range, so we don't get a whole lot of them here. But they've shown up on their breeding territories, like at McLaury Springs in southwest Cook County, where they often show up every year. They've already been there. Certainly in southern
oh wow,
Illinois, where it's a fairly common bird, they've probably been
yeah.
there for a couple of weeks already. That's another early one that we should be on the lookout here. And one thing that you could point out is that any water thrush that you see that in mid-April or even into late April, it's more likely to be a Louisiana water thrush than northern water thrush, even though
Oh, okay.
northern water thrush characteristically would be the much more common bird here, and it will become the expected one, by the very end of April, early May. But right now, you need, any water thrush you see is more likely to be a Louisiana.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's really hard to tell these two birds apart. So that's a great in the field. I mean, you have to be really get a really good look to tell these two birds apart in the field, and so that's really helpful to know that. And generally, I found Louisianas to be more birds of kind of stream sides and creeks and water courses. Is that true though in migration? Maybe they go into some other habitats
Yeah, they certainly
as
get,
well. Or?
migration mixes things up a bit and birds can show up
Yeah,
in strange places. But Yeah, typically Louisiana is a bird of clean, pretty fast flowing streams, whereas northern water rush you'll find in any sort of wet wooded habitats. Um,
Right.
so there is some of that, especially on the breeding grounds, although that distinction blurs during migration. And especially in a place like
Cool.
the Chicago lakefront where we don't really have either of those habitats. So,
Yeah.
the birds are just showing
Right.
up wherever they can find anything.
Exactly. Habitat seems to mean even less sometimes
Mhm.
at this time of year. So, did you how are your sightings like going? Have you had anything interesting that or just a generally pleasing sighting that you would want to share?
Well, I've just done, very local birding this last week, but it's been great to see. This time of year is very exciting because the bird life can change from one day to the next. And, so just walking around my neighborhood and seeing yellow-bellied sapsuckers and hearing yellow-bellied sapsuckers and both ruby crown and golden crown kinglets and brown creepers.
Nice.
Um, that's pretty much been my highlights. There's a pair of kestrels that's nesting in the neighborhood, so it's fun. I can see those flying around out my window some days. Um,
Cool.
but it's mostly been very typical birds for this time of year.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, likewise. And you don't have to go far. I mean, you can see that migration is happening all around us. Um, yeah, yeah, there's certain birds that I just enjoy seeing each year, even they're not particularly like rare or anything like that. Like for example, as a Caspian tern, like I got my first Caspian tern just like going by Jackson Harbor on sort of South Lakeshore Drive or South Shore Drive recently, and I was just like, hey, there's my year Caspian tern, like awesome. And these are just
Yeah,
they're the only like yeah they're the only tern that like nests like really like obviously right here in Chicago, so it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. Caspian terns have become so much more common in the last few decades, and as they become more common here, they've arrived earlier and earlier. It's amazing. It's not so unusual to even see them in the last days of March now, which a couple decades ago would have been totally unheard of. But it's amazing.
Interesting.
I mean, they're really common now, especially in spring and summer, and you can just be anywhere driving down Lakeshore Drive, seeing Caspian terns
Right.
flying by. It's really cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're such a large tern as well. I mean, and just so easy to see it, that sort of blood red bill and just terns just I don't know, I find them just they're graceful flyers, and the way they plunge into the water is always fun too.
Yeah,
So
and Caspian terns
um
have that really loud, raucous, pretty distinctive call
right.
that you can hear from a long ways off, so you always know when there's one coming towards you.
Yeah, so cool. So I was going to ask you a bit about you're part of the Illinois Ornithological Society Backyard Big Day, and wanted to get a sense from you, like just tell us what that is. I don't know. Are you going against Adam's cell, or are you like I don't know if that's a
So,
competition or
like a lot of birding organizations, IOS, Illinois Ornithological Society, is trying to engage their members virtually or from a distance because, I think they've canceled all of their field trips through May now. So, trying to stay connected and engaged during that time is not so easy. So, Tamime Tani came up with this idea of a backyard big day where you'd have people in teams and they'd just go out in their yards on their properties, looking out their apartment windows, in my case,
yeah,
and trying to see as many species as you can. So, of course, we've been talking about spring migration, which is an awesome time to do that because you never know
yeah,
what's going to show up. So we hope that we have good weather for migration that day so that people can see different things in different places. And it's statewide. We have people signed up from all across Illinois. And yeah, so the original idea is Adam Sell is captain of one team. I'm captain of another team. And by the end of the day, we've each team has compiled this list of birds that people have seen, um, and we'll see who the winner is. There's no prize, only pride, but it'll be a really fun way to stay connected. There's a Facebook page for the event. I think that we'll link to, or you'll link to on the This Week in Birding
yeah. We'll put that up
Facebook
there.
page. And if you go to the Backyard Big Day Facebook page, there's a link to a Google form. So you just go to that, can sign up. You can either pick a team or you can just let us, there's an option there for us to pick a team for you so that we can even the numbers out in the end. And we have a lot of people signed up so far. So it's going to be a
Cool.
really great event. And, I'm pretty excited because I'm going to I live in an apartment building right by Montrose Harbor, and I'm going to talk to my building manager. He'll let me up on the roof. So I'm going to be
Oh,
standing up
nice
on the
idea.
roof, seeing what comes by. And I don't think I can quite see to Lake Michigan from there, but I should be able
Yeah,
to see some gulls flying around. Maybe I'll get a Caspian tern, like we were
right.
talking about,
Yeah, you might.
or
Yeah,
something else flying
right.
down the lakefront.
Good yard bird.
Are
Yeah,
you
no,
going to participate?
well, I have thought about that. I've thought about going up on the roof of my building and sort of just seeing what I can see because I could probably get a lot more birds from there. Otherwise, I'm on the second floor of a building, and I think they're letting us stand anywhere on our property to look for birds. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah, so if I go back, like if I go out front, there's a feeder that I can almost see from my front yard, and in the back, usually through my alley, we'll get an occasional kestrel or Cooper's hawk or something like
Mhm.
that. And we have killdeers that I think were nesting on the roof of the nearby hospital or starting to. So that would be a nice one. But yeah, I was gonna. Are you gonna recruit like some ringers? Are you gonna get someone with like a really amazing yard that like
Uh,
backs up on like a national park or something?
Well, that would be great. Or somebody, with 20 acres of wooded property or a wetland in their property. But, Southern Illinois is going to be key because it's still a little
Right.
early for the peak of migration up here. But a lot of birds will have arrived further south in Illinois. So hopefully both Adam and I will get a few people from different parts of the state that'll
Yeah.
on the teams that'll really help increase the total list for each of us.
And is it by species or just overall volume?
Yeah, it's by species. So it's more of a big day
Okay.
competition where you're counting the species than like the traditional spring bird count that we have statewide here in Illinois,
Right.
where you count individuals. And that's more of a population monitoring citizen science project, whereas this is just a fun, let's go birding competition.
Cool. But even if you guys already have like a kestrel on your list, you would want us to still identify our kestrels and share them
Yeah,
with you, correct?
definitely. What we're going to do is at the end of the day, the idea is that everyone will send their day list, or if they do use eBird, they can just send their eBird lists our way, or if they just want to,
Yeah.
make a list in an email to us, send that to us, and we'll compile everything. And maybe we'll do something with what were the most often reported species,
Nice.
which
Yeah.
species were only reported by one or two people. There's some fun ways that we can look at it, especially because we do have quite big teams so far. So it'll give us some interesting ways to look at the list that we get.
Awesome. And so I thought we'd close. Just wanted to get thank you so much for coming on, Josh. And
That's great.
wanted to hear, yeah, if you could give everybody a little soundbite explainer on Red Hill birding. Like, what is Red Hill birding, and what you're up to now, given the unfortunate situation we're in.
Yeah, Red Hill Birding is my tour company, so I operate birding tours um, anywhere from right here in Chicago, all around the U.S., and even all around the world. Um, and yeah, so we do small group birding tours uh, that are a lot of fun. We go to some of the best birding places in the world, and so it's a really
Yeah.
great way to spend some time with other birders, to get out into amazing places, beautiful places, places with a lot of birds, and have just really great travel experiences. So I do day trips. People can hire me, and I have friends who help me out with this, just doing day trips right here in Chicago,
Yeah.
especially for, I've had people who are in town on business, for example, hire me, or even people get like a birthday gift for a spouse who likes birds,
Nice.
great to have an expert guide to take them out. But I also do trips, that are longer, multi-day or multi-week trips around the U.S., around the world. I work with a lot of the local bird clubs here in Chicago to do trips. For example, I have a trip with the Illinois Ornithological Society. We're supposed to be
Yeah.
going to Colombia this summer. We'll see if that
Oh,
if that
sweet.
happens with these travel restrictions
Right.
in place, but I'm hopeful that that one will run. So yeah,
Cool.
it's a difficult time to be in the travel industry. So I've had to postpone a couple of trips.
Yeah.
Fortunately, everyone's been very understanding. There's not really any way around the restrictions that are going on right now. So fortunately, from a personal perspective on this, I was very busy very early in the year, and I'm very busy again later in the year. But this
Okay.
spring was not actually going to be a super busy time for tours for me. So far, I've only had to postpone 2 trips. I'm hoping that it doesn't extend further, and I'm
Yeah.
very much looking forward to being able to get back into it and get
Yeah.
guiding again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, best wishes, and hopefully things, start to return to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah,
And is your,
I think
yeah,
everyone
so
hopes
your
that.
yeah, and your website is,
Yeah,
what's the website again?
the
Yeah.
website is redhillbirding.com. You can see all of our upcoming trips there. I'm currently working on adding. I just started adding trips for 2022, and I'll be adding some more of those in the coming weeks while I'm stuck at home in front of my computer. Um, and of course, and you
Yeah.
can follow us on Instagram. I post photos a couple times a week from the travels, usually bird photos or at least wildlife photos on Instagram. That's
Nice.
at Red Hill Birding, and also on Facebook. I post stuff there every once in a while, so
Cool.
you can follow us on
All right.
Facebook at Red Hill Birding
Nice.
also.
Yeah. And we'll make sure to connect that with This Week in Birding. And so, awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. And appreciate you joining me. And let's maybe do this again next week.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
yeah, and
It was
keep us
great fun.
going.
I look forward
Yeah.
to doing it again.
All right. Thanks a lot, Josh.